In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. Someone is about to walk away from your life this January, and it's not by accident. Listen closely, chosen one. This moment is sacred. You're not here by chance. Before anything else, allow your heart to slow down, because heaven does not rush when it speaks. The Spirit is stirring, and you can feel it, can't you? That unease in your chest, that sudden shift in someone's behavior. They've grown distant, quiet, absent in ways you can't explain. And now in this very hour, the truth is rising to the surface. This January, someone you deeply love is preparing to disappear from your life. Not in anger, not in hatred, but because they're carrying a burden they could never speak aloud. Their silence has meaning. Their withdrawal has weight. And January is not just another page on the calendar. It's their breaking point. This isn't a season of loss. It's a divine turning, a necessary separation ordained by a deeper purpose you've yet to understand. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Ecclesiastes 3:1. This is that time. You were never meant to walk every path with every person. Some souls are placed in your life for a chapter, not the whole story. And though it hurts, though confusion clouds your heart, the Most High is still writing something beautiful with your name on it. What feels like silence right now is not abandonment. It is the space where God often works most deeply, where answers are formed before they are spoken. Don't scroll, don't turn away, because the revelation is not just about who's leaving, but who you are becoming in the aftermath. There's healing here, there's clarity, there's divine strength rising in you through this release. Before you respond outwardly, let this truth settle inwardly. You are not losing ground, you are being repositioned. Now, as you step forward into this divine role, I invite you to declare your readiness. Type Amen in the comments below as a sign of your acceptance, as a quiet but powerful agreement with what God is doing in you. And make sure you stay with me until the very end, because we'll be closing with a powerful prayer for today. The shaking you're feeling, it's not chaos, it's the hand of God rearranging what no longer serves your destiny. This month is not your ending, it's your awakening. Chosen one, you've sensed it, haven't you? That strange shift, that weight you can't quite explain. Music, the person you once felt so connected to, has begun to slip away. Their words don't come as easily. Their presence feels more like absence. And January, it's not just a new year for them, it's their breaking point. Now lean in. Because what looks like silence isn't distance, it's protection. They've been shielding you from a storm inside themselves. A storm they thought would drown you if you ever saw its full force. They've been carrying emotions so raw, so intense, they believed you couldn't bear the truth of it. So they've hidden it, masked it, buried it under smile and half-hearted I'm fines. But the truth has been breaking them slowly. And now they think disappearing is the only way to protect you. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Matthew 26:41. This is not the absence of love. It is the weight of love colliding with fear. Don't mistake their silence for indifference. It is in fact a cry for mercy, a final attempt to keep you from the weight of the chaos they've been living in. They believe that if you knew, if you truly saw the parts of them they've kept hidden, you'd never look at them the same again. Like a mother bird pushing her young out of the nest, they believe absence will force you to fly, even if it means breaking their own heart. Now feel that tightening in your chest. That's not random. That's discernment. That's the Holy Spirit prompting you. Something deeper is happening here. This isn't about one argument, one mistake, or one moment. This is about a person who has been slowly unraveling. Someone who has been fighting shadows in secret, shame, regret, fear, doubt. And they've convinced themselves that walking away is the only form of love they have left to give. They've been telling themselves that their absence will spare you, that by leaving they're protecting you from the version of themselves they can't stand to face in the mirror. But what they don't realize, chosen one, is this: silence doesn't heal, distance doesn't erase pain, and running from truth only makes it louder. This person is not heartless, they're heart-heavy. They've been carrying a secret they believe would shatter the image you hold of them, a mistake they haven't forgiven themselves for, a truth they fear would ruin everything. So rather than confess, they withdraw. Rather than explain, they retreat. And in their mind, January is the deadline, the moment where they vanish before the weight consumes them entirely. But the Most High sees what you cannot. And He's revealing this message not to bring you despair, but to awaken you to a deeper understanding. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. This isn't the end of the story, it's a divine turning point. This person has been torn between two fears: the fear of hurting you by staying and the fear of hurting you by leaving. And that tension, that war within them, is what's been changing their behavior, their tone, their energy. You've noticed it. The glances that linger too long, the moments when they seem lost in thought, the hesitation in their voice, all signs of someone on the edge of goodbye, yet praying you'll somehow understand what they can't say out loud. They're not choosing to disappear because they stopped caring. They're disappearing because caring has become too painful to carry in silence. Listen with your whole heart now, because this is the part they've tried the hardest to hide. They feel unworthy of your love. They believe their imperfections disqualify them from remaining where love feels this real. They fear that being fully known would cost them the safety of your love. So they'd rather leave than risk watching your love fade when the truth comes out. That's why the energy around you has been shifting. That's why you felt the sudden chill in their presence, the weight in their absence. They are making a decision born not of hatred, but of heartbreak. January isn't an escape. It's the final straw. The place where all the guilt, all the fear, all the emotional exhaustion comes to a head. They've been counting down quietly, not to hurt you, but because they believe it's the only way to protect you from the storm they can no longer contain. And here's what's even more painful, chosen one. They are willing to destroy themselves to keep from disappointing you. But here is what the Lord says: my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. They don't know this yet, but you do now. The enemy has whispered lies into their soul that you're better off without them, that love cannot survive transparency, that their brokenness makes them unlovable. But those are not the words of the Father. Those are chains, not truth. And chains can be broken in the presence of divine love. Now listen closely. They're not walking away because they stopped loving you. They're walking away because they believe love requires hiding the worst of themselves. What they don't see is that the truth, however painful, is the only thing that could have set them free. But fear has blinded them. Shame has silenced them. And now their silence is speaking louder than any confession ever could. So what do you do now? You do not pursue from fear. You stand still and entrust the outcome to God. You surrender this person to the one who knows their heart even better than they do. You release the outcome to the Most High, trusting that what's meant for you cannot be stolen. Not even by silence, not even by fear. And let this be the message you carry into this season. This season is the moment when avoidance collapses and truth demands attention, a necessary breaking that leads to holy rebuilding. The pain you feel is real, but so is the purpose behind it. And the one who holds your heart sees every tear, every unanswered question, every ache of uncertainty. So do not despair. Do not confuse their silence with rejection. Do not confuse their absence with divine abandonment, because even in the leaving, God is still working. The story is not finished, the chapter is not closed, and the heartbreak you feel now is not proof of failure, but of love that ran deeper than either of you knew how to carry. Chosen one, you were never meant to carry the weight of their healing, but you were always meant to witness this moment with eyes wide open. Not to cling, but to understand. Not to fix, but to release. So now stand in the truth. They didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because they believed they weren't. The start of the year may feel like an ending, but in heaven's timeline, it's only the middle. And what comes next is not your ruin, it's your realignment. For the Lord declares, behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19, chosen one. Something new is beginning, even here, even now. So breathe deep, let go and trust that even in goodbye, God is still writing beauty into your story. The atmosphere around you has been changing. You clear as throat felt it. That invisible tension in the air. The way someone close to your heart has been drifting. Not abruptly, but slowly, quietly, carefully. It hasn't made sense. But now, in this very moment, the truth is rising to meet you. Listen closely, because this isn't just about a person walking away. This is about a soul surrendering under pressure they never told you about. This season is not random. It is not just another month on the calendar. For this person, it marks the collapse. The moment the emotional walls they've held up for so long begin to crack under the weight of everything they've kept hidden. You see, their silence is not withdrawal. It is a defense built from fear, not indifference. It's not that they stopped caring. It's that they've reached a breaking point. They think they're sparing you. They believe that walking away will hurt less than letting you see the depth of their struggle. But in truth, the silence they choose will echo louder than any confession ever could. You need to hear this. Their absence isn't about you being unworthy. It's about them feeling unworthy of you. Remember what the word says. Even the darkness is not dark to you. The night shines like the day, for darkness is as light to you. Psalm 139 verse 12. They've been living in that darkness, hiding in it. And now they think fading into it is the only way to cope. Can you feel it? That sudden tightness in your chest? That shift in your spirit? It's because you're drawing closer to the hidden truth. A truth they buried deep. Too afraid of what it might do to you. To the bond, to the image you hold of them. They've been fighting a battle you weren't invited to see. Every forced smile, every withdrawn glance, every moment of silence. Those weren't accidents. They were signs of a soul caught in a storm. A storm between wanting to stay and believing they shouldn't. This isn't about disinterest. This is about a person who has been carrying a secret so heavy, so deeply personal, that they've convinced themselves that leaving is an act of love. But the Most High sees the heart clearly. And He's revealing this to you now, not to devastate, but to deliver. You've probably noticed the change, the pause before they respond, the sudden emotional distance, the way they look at you like they're memorizing your face just in case. It's because they've been preparing to disappear without goodbye, preparing to slip away while pretending nothing's wrong. But the Spirit says otherwise. Therefore confess your sins to one another and pray for one another that you may be healed. James 5:16. They were never meant to carry this alone. But fear has kept their mouth shut and their heart locked. They are afraid that if you see the full truth, you'll turn away. That if you know what they've done or what they're carrying or how they were falling apart inside, you'll never look at them the same again. They're terrified that your love will vanish when exposed to their weakness, and so they chose silence because vulnerability felt more dangerous than distance. In their eyes, vanishing quietly is better than watching you drift away after the truth comes out. Stay with me, chosen one, because we're approaching the most fragile part of the truth. You see, they're not just retreating, they're collapsing. The start of the year is when everything inside them caves in. When the pressure they've been carrying becomes too much to hide. They disappear not because they don't care, but because they've convinced themselves that you need someone stronger than they feel capable of being. They've made the mistake of believing that their brokenness disqualifies them from your life. But the word says otherwise. We do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize. Hebrews 4:15. God doesn't need perfection, He needs surrender. But this person hasn't yet learned that. So instead of asking for help, they isolate. Instead of leaning on love, they run from it. And now the weight they've been carrying has turned into a decision to disappear. Not suddenly, but intentionally. To slip away piece by piece, conversation by conversation, until they feel small enough to forget. But you haven't forgotten. You've noticed. That's why your spirit feels unsettled. You've seen the distance, felt the coldness, watched them drift, and wondered what you did wrong. But hear this truth. It wasn't you. It was never you. This is about their internal storm. The guilt they haven't confessed. The mistake they think defines them. The shame they've wrapped around themselves like a second skin. They're disappearing because they think you deserve someone whole. While they feel like they're falling apart, they don't want to burden you with the version of themselves they're trying to survive. They've been testing life without you, taking mental steps back, wondering if you'll notice. You did, and that's why you're here now. This is the divine moment of exposure. Don't scroll. Don't miss this, because the revelation you're about to receive will shift how you see everything. They've been pulling away, not out of cruelty, but out of confusion. Not to hurt you, but to protect you from the pain they believe they're becoming. But what they don't realize is that their leaving will hurt you far more than the truth ever could. What they're hiding isn't just sadness, it's identity crisis. It's emotional exhaustion. It's years of unhealed wounds bleeding into the present, and they've been too afraid to let you into that space. This isn't the end of a relationship. It's a misinterpreted offering where they think leaving is the last act of care they can offer. Chosen one. This moment you're in now, it's holy. This is not just a revelation, it's a crossroads. You're standing at the edge of understanding something they never wanted you to see. They love you, but their fear has convinced them they're unlovable. They care for you, but their shame says you'd be better off without them. They are disappearing because their heart has reached the edge, and they believe that stepping away is their only way to keep from dragging you into the storm with them. But even now, even in their retreat, the Most High is not finished. You're not alone in this pain, and neither are they. Now breathe slowly, gently, because what you just heard is the layer they fought hardest to keep buried. The reason they disappear in January isn't rooted in rejection or loss of love. It's rooted in their own collapse. They don't know how to stay when they feel so far gone inside. They don't know how to ask for help when shame is louder than hope. They don't know how to let you love them when they no longer love themselves. But the truth has now been brought into the light, and that changes everything. Something sacred is unfolding in front of you. And if you listen closely, your spirit will recognize what your mind has struggled to understand. Don't scroll, because this is the moment the veil lifts. There's someone in your life, and deep down you've known something's been shifting. Not suddenly, but gradually, like a fading light at dusk. And now you're standing at the edge of a truth they've never dared to speak. Their retreat this month is not about indifference. Music, it's about fear. Not of you, but of what you mean to them. They never meant to fall this deeply, never expected your presence to reach the corners of their soul they had sealed off long ago. You became too real, too necessary, too powerful. And that kind of love, uncontrolled, raw, vulnerable, it terrified them. Perfect love casts out fear, the word says in 1 John 4:18. But they haven't learned to trust that yet. So instead of surrendering to love, they're retreating into self-pity protection. This isn't just someone walking away. This is someone running from a connection so profound, it broke every wall they thought would keep them safe. They chose January not by coincidence, but as a way to reclaim what little control they felt they had left. They believe if they leave first, they won't have to face the possibility of you walking away later. And that fear, that haunting question of, what if I'm not enough, has driven them to the edge. Can you feel it? That strange pressure in your chest, that subtle ache that doesn't go away. It's your spirit responding to their silent panic. Because even though they've said nothing, everything in their behavior has been screaming. This person is overwhelmed not just by what they feel for you, but by how much those feelings expose parts of them they've spent a lifetime trying to hide. They didn't plan this. They didn't see you coming. And they certainly didn't expect to care this much. But your kindness, your strength, your silence, even it all pierced them. And now they're standing in a storm of their own making, unsure whether to run toward you or away from you. You've become the mirror they didn't ask for, a reflection of what they could be and what they fear they're not. And so they've convinced themselves that disappearing will bring them clarity. They believe stepping away will shrink the intensity of what they feel. But what they don't understand yet is that distance doesn't kill truth. It magnifies it. January to them feels like an escape, but heaven knows it's an awakening. They think they can control this. They think if they disappear long enough, the emotions will fade. But God designed real connections to grow under pressure, not die in silence. And what's about to happen next is the very twist they didn't anticipate. They're hoping you'll notice. That's the part they'll never admit. They want you to feel their absence. They want you to recognize what their presence meant. They're retreating but watching, disappearing but hoping, testing if the silence will speak louder than words ever could. Their fear isn't rejection. Their fear is exposure. They believe if you saw the depth of their need for you, if you knew how much your presence steadied them, it would make them weak. And in their mind, weakness is dangerous. So they run, not because you hurt them, but because they fear how much you could. They're terrified of the way your voice calms them, the way your silence unravels them. They're afraid that your absence would destroy them more than your love ever could. So instead of leaning in, they lean out. Instead of speaking, they vanish. And yet, their soul is still tethered to yours in ways they can't explain. What's coming next is the revelation they never wanted you to know. This isn't freedom for them, this is torment. Their disappearance isn't release, it's a gamble, a test, a desperate hope that space will solve what their heart can't handle. They want to know, will you reach out? Will you stop them? Will you care enough to make the first move? It sounds foolish, but fear makes even the wisest heart act irrationally. Like Jonah, they are running not because they don't know their calling, but because they fear what obedience might cost them. They've convinced themselves that disappearing will bring peace, when in fact it delays purpose. They're not rejecting you. They're retreating from their own emotions, from the truth that you've become more important than they ever expected. And that scares them more than anything. Don't misread this. They haven't stopped feeling. They're feeling too much, so much that it's paralyzed them right now. They're playing back every moment with you, every conversation, every look, eerie laugh, wondering how something so deep grew so quickly, wondering why they can't shake the thought of you, and wondering whether running is the answer or the biggest mistake of their life. Their mind is screaming logic, safety, control, but their heart is crying out for you, for peace, for the connection they can't deny. And in this war between heart and mind, they've chosen what feels easier. Music, withdrawal, silence, escape. But what they don't understand is that disappearing won't protect them. It won't erase the bond. It won't kill the longing. It won't quiet the love. Because what God has joined, even in timing, even in soul alignment, no amount of fear can undo. They think you hold power over their peace, but it's not control you hold, it's presence. And the truth is, your presence has become their anchor. And now they're afraid of drowning without it. This season is not their final goodbye, it's their breaking point. It's the moment when the illusion of control shatters, when they realize distance hasn't solved anything. It's only revealed how unshakable this connection really is. Like Hosea's wife GMA, who fled even when pursued by love. This person is stepping away, not because they're unloved, but because they feel unworthy to receive it. They stepped out, they felt the pull, but fear has stolen their focus. And now they're sinking into uncertainty, unsure of how to get back. But you, chosen one, God is calling you not to chase, but to understand, not to rescue, but to discern. And in this moment, the healing begins, not just for them, but for you. Because now you see the truth. This isn't about rejection, this is about awakening. A heart realizing what it can't deny, and a soul learning how to handle what it can't control. They thought disappearing would give them the upper hand, but instead it exposed the depth of their own vulnerability. And as much as they try to hide it, their spirit still reaches for you in silence. So now we've reached the moment where everything connects. They're not running from you. They're running from how real this has become, from how deeply your presence has shifted their inner world. And now they're standing in January at the crossroads of fear and truth, desperately hoping you'll understand what they could never say. The person you're thinking about, the one who has been growing quieter, more distant, more unreadable, is not running from you because they've stopped caring. They're hoping you'll stop them. They don't want it to disappear. Not really. But they've convinced themselves that if they stay, they'll be holding on to something that no longer wants them. And their heart can't take that kind of silence. So instead of waiting for heartbreak to arrive, they're trying to outrun it. This window of time is not their escape. It's their shield. A way to protect themselves from the torment of believing you've already let them go. You see, what's driving this person to disappear isn't closure. It's confusion. Not anger, but ache. Not indifference, but intensity. They've read into your silences, replayed your slow replies, sat with the days when your attention felt somewhere else, and they've taken every moment personally. They believe your quiet is the start of your goodbye, and they're terrified. Don't scroll, because the next part reveals the core of what they're hiding. Their mind has become a battlefield. Every moment you seemed distracted, every time you didn't respond the way they hoped, they took it as confirmation that your heart was already slipping away. They don't see your silence as a pause, they see it as rejection. And that thought alone has shaken their soul. They believe that if they stay and continue to care with everything in them, they'll eventually witness the one thing they can't survive: you replacing them. So they run, not because they don't love you, but because they do, more than they can handle, more than they're ready to admit. And now they stand in the middle of January, aching to be reassured, desperate to be seen, but too afraid to ask. Too afraid that asking would make them look weak, needy, or worse yet, forgettable. They're not trying to hurt you, they're trying to protect themselves from being hurt by you. But here's the truth they don't yet see. Distance won't heal what only honesty can. And if this person were to pause, if they were to seek the wisdom of the Lord instead of the panic of their emotions, they might remember this promise: trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. But they've been leaning on fear, not faith. And fear has twisted their view of everything. So now they're disappearing. Not randomly, not without purpose, but because they feel trapped. Trapped between loving you and fearing you don't feel the same. Trapped between longing to stay and believing their presence is no longer welcome. Every heartbeat, every overanalyzed word, every moment of hesitation has brought them to this point where stepping back feels safer than stepping forward. They've been battling this alone, and what you might see as distance was actually their silent cry. They've thought through every word they didn't say, every text they didn't send, every moment they could have asked, "Do I still matter to you?" But didn't, because the thought of hearing the wrong answer was too much to bear. Now feel that heaviness in your chest, that pressure that won't lift. That's the weight of a connection that hasn't been broken, only misunderstood. They didn't choose to stop loving you. They chose silence, hoping you'd fill in the blanks. But silence, when mixed with fear, becomes unbearable. They believe that if they disappear now, it will hurt less than watching you walk away first. They don't see how their absence could devastate you. They're too caught in a storm of emotion, too overwhelmed to believe they could still be loved as they are. January to them has become the finish line, but to heaven it's just the turning point. And here's where the revelation begins to shift everything. Because this isn't just about fear, it's about vulnerability. This person has been torn wide open by how much they care. They feel exposed, raw, like one wrong word from you could unravel their entire sense of worth. Their love has outgrown their ability to hide it, and that terrifies them. They've tried to shrink it down, bury it, numb it. But your voice, your energy, your absence, it all keeps reminding them that what they feel is too real to escape. So now they're pulling away, not out of rejection, but because they're overwhelmed. The intensity of their emotions has become too heavy to carry alone. And instead of turning to you, they're turning inward. But the word tells us plainly, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. 1 Peter 5:7. They haven't done that yet. They've been trying to solve a spiritual ache with emotional defenses, and it's not working. Now listen closely, because what comes next is the final revelation they never meant for you to uncover. They never stopped hoping you'd stop them. Their disappearance is not a door slammed shut. It's a pause, a moment of retreat filled with questions, regrets, and hope that maybe, just maybe, you'll notice the space they left behind. They've been reliving every glance, every shared moment, every almost conversation, wondering if it meant as much to you as it did to them. Your unpredictability, your silence, your distance. It's been breaking them in ways you may never have intended. They feel powerless, and in their powerlessness, they've chosen to vanish. Not because they want to, but because they believe it's the only way to protect both of you from the intensity they don't know how to manage. But here's what they don't realize. The pain they're trying to avoid is the very pain they're now causing. Their absence will not make you forget. Their silence will not erase the bond. And their withdrawal will not bring peace. It will only highlight what was never said, what was never asked, what was never given the space to grow. Now feel that pull deep inside your chest, that tug on your soul. That's not just emotion, that's spiritual discernment. You're sensing the weight of a truth that's been buried too long. They thought walking away would set them free, but what it's doing is bringing everything they've buried to the surface. This month is not their escape, it's their awakening. And what happens next? What unfolds after this moment will reveal everything they were too afraid to say. There are moments when the soul reaches a threshold, when it no longer knows how to carry what it feels, but can't seem to let it go either. For this person, this window of time is that moment. It's not a rejection. It's not revenge. It's not an ending. It's surrender. A quiet attempt to shield you and maybe themselves from the fire of a love they can no longer control. They believe their absence may spare you from a truth they're afraid you're not ready to hear. But what they don't realize is this: walking away doesn't silence the truth, it amplifies it. The emotions they're wrestling with aren't fading, they're intensifying. And no matter how far they try to step back, the bond only grows stronger, because what they feel for you is not shallow, it's not temporary, it's not confused. It's real and more powerful than any fear, any hesitation, or any silence. You've sensed it, haven't you? The pull in your chest, the pressure behind your breath. That's not just you overthinking, that's the weight of something wholly unfolding between you and them. Something too sacred to ignore. They've been hiding a storm inside. Love that's burning too brightly, fear that they can't contain, longing that never seems to leave, and regret for not saying what needed to be said when the moment was still theirs. But listen closely. They're not walking away out of anger, not out of betrayal, not because they don't care. They're stepping back because what they feel has become too much to carry while standing this close to your presence. Every quiet pause, every delayed message, every subtle withdrawal, none of it was random. It was them testing how close they could stay without unraveling. And now they're reaching a breaking point. January is not their disappearance, it's their reckoning. It's the place where love meets fear head-on, where their heart, trembling and roar, chooses distance, not to escape the connection, but to confront it in solitude. They think if they step away, they'll finally be able to understand what this is. They think distance will grant them clarity. But what they don't yet understand is that distance doesn't quiet music, the truth. It magnifies it. They're not vanishing out of carelessness or spite. They're not trying to hurt you. Quite the opposite, they're afraid of hurting you with the full intensity of what they feel. This love has grown so deep, so all-consuming, they fear it might overwhelm you. They fear it might expose them, break you. And so their instinct is to retreat. But here's the holy tension. The more they step away, the more undeniable the bond becomes. That sudden pull in your chest, that's not your imagination. That's the echo of their emotion, reverberating through the space they've left behind. They've been wrestling with this in silence, measuring glances, weighing words, trying to hold back floods of emotion they never intended to feel. And still they feel it. They've convinced themselves that disappearing is an act of protection, that stepping away will prevent the explosion they fear is coming. But what they don't realize is that in pulling away, they are creating a vacuum of longing that neither of you can ignore. Now hear this. The start of the year is not their goodbye. It's their crucible. A furnace where fear and love wrestle for dominance. They hope that by retreating, they can regain control over emotions that are too big to hold. But in truth, this absence isn't control, it's exposure. The silence is becoming louder than any confession ever could be. The truth is rising, it's about to surface. And when it does, it will shift the ground beneath your feet. They are not leaving to punish you. They're leaving because their heart can no longer hide what it feels. They are terrified that if they stay just one moment longer, the truth they've buried will erupt in ways they can't manage. Their silence has been trembling with emotion. Their behavior soaked in confusion. Their distance is drenched in fear. They've been trying to protect you from what's inside them, because somewhere along the way they convinced themselves that you might not be ready for the weight of their truth. But chosen one, hear this. You were never meant to be shielded from what's real. You were built to walk in light. As January draws near, the pressure is mounting. They're caught between confession and escape. And every second they're getting closer to that tipping point. You feel it, don't you? That shift in the air, that pause in time, that tension inside your chest. It's not coincidence, it's convergence. They're not disappearing because of you. They're disappearing because being near you feels like standing on the edge of something life-changing. Something so sacred it terrifies them. They think that if they walk away now, they'll avoid the unraveling. But what they don't realize is that what they're running from is not danger, it's destiny. You can't run from something the Spirit has authored. And this connection, it wasn't built on impulse, it was born in purpose. They believe that walking away is safer than let their heart finally speak. But the love they carry is not something they can leave behind. The connection they're trying to flee will follow them. It will find them in quiet moments, in the spaces between thoughts, in dreams, in prayer, in the ache that never fully disappears. Because when God allows two souls to collide in a way that stirs transformation, it's not something you can silence with distance. You can try, but the truth always has a way of rising, especially when it's divine.